So, did you choose to be a project manager, or it found you? Or did you plan to be a project manager and you ended up being a project manager? By the end of this video, you should be able to identify who you are in terms of 3 categories of project management. So hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to cover one of the 3 types or one of the 3 categories of project managers in this world. So this is going to be intentional project manager. When we say an intentional project manager, this is someone who is actually planned, who has actually decided that they want to manage projects. So they go through like certifications, they also read a lot of books, they make themselves experienced, and then they become project manager and they become successful. So hello. So in this section, we are going to look at the intentional project manager. So you're an intentional project manager. You are planning to be a project manager. You want to be a project manager. So you create a path to become a project manager. One of them is to make sure that you certify yourself to become a project manager. The other one, you read a lot of books or textbooks or even journals to understand about project manager. You can also even shadow some of these project managers so that when they're not there, at least you can experience. You can also push yourself into project management so that you can gain a lot of experience. So intentional project manager is one of the categories or one of the types of project managers that you find in every project environment. So intentional is like you have planned, you want to be a project manager, either due to some inspiration from someone else, or maybe it could be due to some successful project that you have seen somewhere. So there are so many reasons that can push you to be an intentional project manager. You do your own assessment, you understand the pressures associated with that project management. You also understand the needs associated with project management. So let's go through this category or this type of project manager and then understand one by one what it means to be an intentional project manager. So I hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe button, and the notification button so that you're the first person to be notified each time a new video is uploaded on this channel. It will also help the channel to grow. It will also help the channel to produce more videos like this one. So let's go through the journey of being an intentional project manager. The first step that is expected is research, which means you have researched on how to become a project manager. You have tried to understand how to become a project manager. You have checked either through the journals, through the internet, through some books, how to become a project manager. So the first part of the journey to become an intentional project manager is to research the path to become a project manager. Certification, experience, shadowing other PMs, being involved in projects, improving your project leadership, improving your soft skills, and so on and so forth. So that is very, very important for you to appreciate and for you to also create a path to intentional project management. So as an intentional project manager, you might go through some education, which is a second stage of this journey to become intentional project manager. You educate yourself. It could be through certification, like I said earlier. It could be through reading journals or books on project management, or it could be also in terms of asking a mentor to coach you on how to become a project manager. So the second stage is very straightforward. You are educating yourself to become a project manager. How long it's going to take, it depends on the pace at which you are pushing yourself to become a project manager. So once you become a project manager, you also need some experience. So you need someone to coach you. You need someone to work with. If you've got a problem, you can ask. If you've got issues, you can ask. So that is the second stage of the journey of being an intentional project manager. If you want to understand and to appreciate more on how to become a very successful project manager, I've created for you a comprehensive ebook on how to become a project manager and how to become a successful project manager. You can find the link in the description below, and it will help you to also master the art of project management. So the third stage of this journey is certification. So you can certify yourself as a project management professional through PMI, or you can even certify yourself as an Agile certified project manager, or probably you might want to go for another certification like Prince 2 methodology to certify yourself. So you're intentionally pushing and moving yourself towards project management. You're totally different from an accidental project manager. So it's part of the journey. This is stage number 3. We want to look at stage number 4. So stage number 4 of the journey is practice. I can tell you from my experience, you have to practice. Project management is all about practicing. When I was on my 10th project, that's when I started gaining too much of my confidence. I said to myself, now I can deliver any project. But it will be very unusual. You do only one project, then you become a master. So practice is one of the journey points that you have to take in project management cycle, especially if you're going through the intentional project management process. So you intend to practice the project management skills. You can start with small projects. You don't need to start with big projects. You cannot expect yourself to be a very good project manager by just doing either studies, you take some online courses, and then you claim to be a project manager. It will not work that way. You cannot even get yourself certified as a PMI certified, a Prince 2 certified, or Agile certified. Then you think you're now you're now a master in terms of project management. You can't do that. You have to practice. You have to go through the process of initiating a project, the process of planning a project, the process of monitoring and controlling a project, the process of executing a project, the process of closing a project, all the way from the start up to the end. That is what I'm calling practice. Don't just do one cycle. You have done initiation, then you think you're now a master in terms of project management. It will not work that way. You will suffer if you don't follow the actual practice that is required. You actually need a number of projects, depending on the size, but you need a number of projects because every project is unique. You won't be finding the same people, same objectives, same goals, and so on and so forth. All these things might differ from project to project. So it is quite important that you practice with different projects. Don't confine yourself unless if it is actually your career that you want to take. Say, for example, you want to confine yourself only to construction projects or to software projects or, for example, to finance projects and so on and so forth. But if you have got a chance to do different categories of projects, especially within your first years as a project manager, that will be very good for you. It gives you more experience and also a diverse view of how some of these projects are actually achieved. Then, the last stage of this journey as an intentional project manager is mastery. You should now master project management. It will take years, I can assure you. Me, I've been there for more than 2 decades. So it will take years for you to master. How do you master? There are so many things. The first one is practice. We have spoken about practice before. You need to practice project management with different sections, different categories, not just one area. So once you master that, you also need to, after practice, you also need to have continuous learning. Don't stop learning as a project manager. Should keep a lessons learned log throughout the project. Don't wait for the last minute, throughout the project, because you always learn. Then you can learn from experience, that is the lessons learned. You can also learn from reading case studies of other projects. So there are different ways to learn. These days we now have project management system, PMIs. You can also learn from them. They have user guides, they have case studies, they have examples, they have tips, and so on and so forth. So it's also quite important that if you're an intentional project manager, the last stage is to master project management through continuous learning. So in this section, let us look at what sets you apart as an intentional project manager. So the first one is the fluence in terms of frameworks. Say, for example, you have studied Prince 2 as a project management certification. You now know the framework of Prince 2 methodology. How do you start a project all the way up to the end? Say, for example, you have also studied PMI, which is project management professional. You also have gone through to understand the processes in project management. There are so many processes, 49 of them. There are so many processes that you have to learn. Process for initiation, which there are about 2, and then process for planning, 24 of them, and then execution, you find there are about 10, and then monitoring and control, you have about 12, and then the last one, which is closing, you have only one process. So when you're an intentional project manager, you have taken the task of understanding and appreciating, and you want to make sure that you do project management properly. So how do you do that? You do it through the fluence in terms of frameworks. You should be very fluent in terms of frameworks. You should know if someone is talking about Agile methodology, what does it mean? If someone is talking about Scrum Agile methodology, what does it mean? If someone is talking about predictive or waterfall project methodology, what does it mean? What are you supposed to do? Remember, in Agile and in predictive project management, you are wearing two caps. Predictive, you are detecting. Dictating. For waterfall, you are dictating what has to be done. Everyone comes to you for assistance. Everyone comes to you for knowledge, for guidance, and so on and so forth. But when you become an Agile project manager, you are more of a servant leader. Okay, you facilitate. You are facilitating. You are not a manager. You are a facilitator. You remove blocks or blockers. You also make sure that all the challenges, they are also attended to, and your team is not actually disturbed. So your fluence in terms of frameworks is also very important. So the second point which sets you apart is the continuous learning. Okay? So if you're a project manager, you should always be learning. You can learn from case studies, you can learn from your current projects. You can even learn from other projects, from your peers, either within the organization or within the industry. So you should always make sure that you're learning. Even me, I've been in projects for a long time, but still, I'm still learning. There are some things I learn when I implement a new project, which I've never seen in the last 20 or 25 years of my experience. There are also some things which I have to apply, which I've never applied also in the previous projects. So it will set you apart because you're always learning. Remember, you are intentionally becoming a project manager. The third part is you have a recognized credentials. You have certified yourself. You are Prince2 certified, you are PMI certified, you are also an Agile certified. So that makes the difference between you and an accidental project manager. You have the credentials. You can produce your certifications. You can even produce your knowledge. You can even use the domain language in project management. When you say scrumming, what does it mean? When you say predictive waterfall methodology, what does it mean? When you say stakeholder management, what does it mean? When you say procurement, what does it mean? So you have the credentials because you have intentionally gone through the project management cycle or project management certification, and you have the knowledge. So the other part that sets you apart is confidence in authority. I can give you myself. Before I start this YouTube channel, I had to do a lot of reading. I can tell you it's not very easy to be in front of the camera and also to expose yourself to the world through YouTube when you don't have knowledge, when you don't have confidence, when you don't have authority in terms of what you're talking about. So for you to be able to be authoritative, you need to learn, you need to read widely a lot of things, and then you're able to say, as an intended project manager, I'm able to say this with confidence. For example, I'm able to say stakeholder management, stakeholder register, risk register, issue register. What does it mean? When I say we are doing extreme programming as a methodology, when we say we are doing a Kanban as an Agile methodology, what does it mean? So even the domain language in terms of project management process, you can start using that language. So it is very important that when you're an intentional project manager, your confidence and also your authority in terms of subject matter becomes very, very high. Because you know what you're doing, you know what you're supposed to do, you know the domain language, you know how to manage stakeholders, you know what to say in a project board, you know what to say in a steering committee board, you know what to say to the project sponsor, you know what to say when you're reporting project progress. So when you're an intentional project manager, there are some things to watch out for. It's very tempting. I've gone through that process, especially after your certification. I can tell you after my certification, I was very methodical and I can say rigid, if I can use that word, because you have some theory that you have gone through in your certification and you always, or you think it should always apply. That theory must always apply. Then you'll be shocked to find that there are some things you have to tailor depending on the project. Projects are different and unique. So one of the items to watch out for is over-processing. You know, after certification, it's very tempting that you want to do by the book. But it's a small project, for example. You don't need to have all these other things expanded. You just have to make sure you have your goals, your scope is very clear, you have the right team, you know your stakeholders, and then you execute the project, then you deliver through monitoring and also evaluation or even control. So one of the items you have to watch out for is don't over-process any specific project environment. Always tailor-made the processes of any project certification or knowledge that you have to the project environment. Some of them will drop them off. Some of them you can even improve. You can even introduce some. Say, for example, you're in a hybrid project environment. You might start with predictive and then you go to Agile. So there are so many things that you might force yourself to improve. And be flexible. You might find some organizations who are not following a specific methodology or certification. They have their own templates of doing things. They have their own ways of capturing information. So you need to be very flexible. You should always tailor each and every certification or methodology that you have, the knowledge that you have to the specific project. Project is always unique. It will never be the same. What you did in the last project might be different from what you're going to do in the next project because stakeholders, they differ. Milestones, they also differ. Even the team, they can also differ. Even the budget, the scope, even the timelines. So every project is always unique. So don't always over-process anything in a project environment. So the other trap or something to watch out for when an intentional project manager is the gatekeeping in terms of knowledge. It is the credential gatekeeping. I've encountered some of these project managers on the other side from my clients who always think that because they are certified, because they led something, therefore they know more than everyone else. Never do that. Always listen to everyone. No one has got monopoly over knowledge. So you should be able to listen to those who have got certified as project managers, to those who are part of project management for a long time. So it's very tempting that you think because I'm certified, now I know everything. No one can tell me about project management. No, don't do that. Always make sure that even if your credentials, they are very, very important, but there are people who can come up with ideas, especially the team that you are working on. Don't try to give them solutions. Ask the team for solutions. They know better than you because they're the ones who are going to deliver the solutions. They're the ones who are going to run the solution. So it's quite important that the credential gatekeeping, you lower it down, listen to other people in the project. It will help the project to be very successful. So the other trap to watch out for is theory and reality. I can tell you, the best methodology is what is being used by the team. You might disagree with me on that. Let me know in the comment section. I've seen some project managers who join some organizations and all of a sudden they want to change everything that is being done. And that has been working all along. So you try to merge your theory into reality in terms of what actually is in the project, what actually is being done by the project team. They might have a better framework than what you learned in your certification. They might have a better framework than what you understood during your training, your online course, and so on and so forth. So it's always very important that you balance between theory and reality. In theory, something might be practical, but when it comes to reality, it's not practical. There's nothing that you can do. But in theory, you're told you're supposed to either introduce more project members, you're supposed to change direction, you're supposed to escalate. But in reality, it might not work. So that is one of the traps that you should always make sure you're actually monitoring in terms of project cycle. It's very dangerous that because you know the theory, you think everything that you're learning through the theory, it works. That might not work. So the other trap to watch out for is the comfort zone ceiling. You know, after getting certification, you might end up thinking that you now know everything. No one else can say anything. Or you might even think there's no need for you to continue learning. To be a good PM, especially when you go through the intentional process, is to make sure that you learn continuously. Always learn continuously, understand things continuously, listen from the team, listen to the team, understand from the team, learn from the team. Don't try to take yourself as if you have monopoly over knowledge. It's one of the biggest traps when you become an intentional project manager. If you want me to create more videos based on what I've covered in this video, or there's any concept or idea that is not clear to you, you can reach out to me or you can let me know in the comment section below. Thank you for watching.